ki te arangi, ai o ki te arangi, aroha ki te arangi, aroha ki te arangi, pono ki te arangi, pono ki te arangi. The song that I just sang is a song about the universe. So Aio is our vibrations that link us with the universe. And we talk about love. So we're sending love out to the universe and also receiving. So it's giving and receiving. And truth, we speak from our heart, and our heart will always be truthful. And peace for each and every one of us. So, te mea tuatahi mātou katoa, nana tinata, nana whakamutanga o tēnei rā. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te taonga, kia mākina te uta, kia mātara ki tai, hei ana te atakura, hei tiho, ti hei Maori ora. So thank you, I feel so privileged to be here. So privileged to be here.
Can we greet? Can you tell them how we greet?
Yeah, so we greet by sharing the breath, and our nose touches each other and our foreheads, and we breathe and we share the breath of each other. And for some tribes, depending on where we come from in New Zealand, there may be different versions that they have. But for us, when we do this, we also, because we're whale people, and so when we do this, we are sharing the breath of the whale as well. And so the eyebrows represent the tail of the whale, the nose represents the body of the whale, and our breath represents our connection with the whale. And yeah, and you know, the world is such a great tonga for us on the earth, because only whales can do something that they gather from the deepest part of the oceans, and they bring that up and they release this energy up into the air, and it helps with our ozone layer that surrounds the planet. So we're going to do this. Okay. So my journey started 8 years ago. Would it be 8 years ago? No, 2016. 2016. But for me, it started even before that. Because I was watching a program on TV, and it was about the super mound. And I went, wow, what an awesome place. But deep inside of me, I knew that one day I was going to be here. I was going to journey here to the super mound. And when, you know, like Terry was saying, that, you know, she got a message to bring the Maori over to the super mound. And when she contacted me, she said, would you like to come to the super mound? Yeah. But inside I was going, yeah. and so we came. And it's been a really special journey, really special journey. Because each time I've come here, I've always, you know, spirit has connected, sky people, relations have connected with you. And I've always taken something back with me that was given to bring back to my own country. And And they have been, they are stories in themselves, believe me, but I need more time to talk about that. But anyway, on this trip, and I sort of wait until the Serpent really contacts me or connects with me and says to me, we're calling you. We're calling you to come back to the Serpent. So I get this message. And then about 2 weeks later, Terry sends me a message on Facebook Messenger, and she said to me, have you had any communication with the giants? And I said to her, yes. But I'll save that for when I come over. And yeah, so you get that calling and you come. And you may, you may not know how you're going to get there, but they provide for you, and you come here because you're meant to be here. Like everybody in this room, it's not a coincidence that you're here. You're supposed to be here at this time. So that's how it began with this trip over. Then, as I was making my way here before I came here, other cultures and spirit started to connect with me. And the first one was the Australian Aboriginal people. I had a grandmother that came to me and said to me, I want to show you something, come with me. So I went with her, and she took me to a place which is in Alice Springs. And she took me to a manga called Ururu. And we were on this manga, and she was telling me the history of it. She was telling me how important and sacred this mana was. And she was telling me that we all have a connection. And when I looked over at the land, or the flat of the land, I could see like dream lines, because we have dream lines in Aotearoa as well. And I could see dream lines going out like a network all across the land, and as far as the eye could see. The second time she took me to the manga, there was a ceremony that took place. And we're standing there again, looking again over the earth, Mother Earth. And it was, you could feel the living entity of Mother Earth. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's the only one that can come to me at this moment. And then secondly, I had an African, and it went on like this. But one of the trips I did to Serpent, when I went home, all these things unfolded in a land which I live on the west coast, in Port Waikato. And it's quite a sacred place here. It's a limestone place. And there's a connection to that place with the Pleiadians. And it took me to that. I spent 10 years there clearing land from traumatic experiences through wars, intertribal wars, and clearing their land away. And I was thinking, and it took 10 years to do this work. And then eventually I was allowed to leave. And then came in the Serpent. And then I realized that what I was doing was clearing the land of that dense energy, because there was going to be a awakening of an energy that was going to replace that. And this is what this journey has been all about. So yeah, we're connected. We're all connected. And so when I traveled here, you don't travel alone. They come with me. And there was a thought that was with that, and it went, "Oh, light, I have come, and all legions of light come with me." I didn't really fully understand that at the time, but I understand it now. Because when I came here, I didn't come alone. Stand up. There was this vibration going through my feet. And I thought, well, I'm at an airport. And so, but no, there was something different. And I thought, this is my health. They said, you're fine. You're fine. So I just carried on the journey. But when I came here to Cincinnati, the same thing. As soon as I hopped off the plane, I could feel this vibration. But when I came here to Serpent Mound yesterday, it was strong. You could have, at times, find it really difficult to keep standing on your feet. That's how powerful this vibration was. And I've never felt this vibration on my other trips, but this trip. So there's been a great shift taking place right here. When Terry was singing, wow, it is so heartfelt, so heartfelt. And I could feel them. They were so excited because they were home. This is like home to them. And the tears started to fall and fall and fall. And I was like, cut it out. That's enough. Cut it out. Yeah. And, when we come on these journeys, people say to me before I left, they go, Rachel, what are you going to talk about when you go over to Serpent Mound? I don't know. And they go, what? Haven't you prepared anything? No. Well, you're going to just go over there and what? And I go, I'll go over there and just let it, just let, my voice be free. My spirit be open. And it will come. What to speak about. Well, I have to mention this too. When I arrived here yesterday at the chalets, I got out of the car and I said, I'd like to walk the land a bit, have a little walk of the land. And when I was walking the land, the first thing that came to my head was Chief Light, yeah. And it came to my mind and I thought, wow. I went into the chalet, went upstairs and we found our room. We had the door closed and we were like unpacking our bag when the door slowly opened up. I said, come on. Come on. So we opened the door and we just carried on with our packing and unpacking and getting ourselves prepared. And I was thinking, wow, isn't it so special to be able to go to places and we connect? Because even though someone has passed away, but they're still there, they are still very much a part of us. And so I felt really honoured that I had this visit from him. And last night, I was having another walk around on Earth. And we could hear this, well, I think there was about 2 or 3 of us outside, and we could hear this, what sounded like a bird. And I said to the others that were standing with me, what sort of bird is that? That's not a bird I've ever heard before. I don't know what that is. And this morning we woke up and I looked out the window and there was a red-headed woodpecker sitting on the tree, eating his bugs, having a look at us at the same time, but quite comfortable eating his bugs. And I thought, what a blessing, You feel the breeze on your face when you're standing outside, and that's a blessing. Having the breeze across your face. Having the woodpecker show itself. And then we saw a group of turkeys rushing through the bush. And it's like, wow, you know. It's like having that feeling of that connection, that we're connected to everything and everything is connected to us, and there's no separation whatsoever. Because our connection goes far beyond religion, even far beyond culture, actually. We have this connection. And anyway, I have to share this because it's all part of my journey. So one night I'm lying in my bed at home and I hear this rustle, and I'm thinking, what's that? And I look over and I can't see anything, but I can hear this rustling. And I thought, oh, I can't see anything. So I turned over and I thought, oh, face the other way. And that's when I had this on my shoulder. And I saw this Maori warrior in spirit. And he says to me, come with me, I want to show you something. I need to take you to a place. So I followed him. And we went up to the top of the North Island. And at the top of the North Island, we have a grandfather tree. It is a kari tree. It's a few hundred years old. And it is known as a living entity. So even with our government, this tree is a living entity. And it is a sacred tree. And we used to have people that used to go in to this forest and go to this tree and carve their names on the tree. Right. And we would know we don't treat our grandfather trees like that. So we made it a living entity with the government and we fenced it off. So people could still go there, but they cannot go there and carve on the trees and do other things that is not appropriate for a sacred tree. When I was standing in front of this tree, I was standing outside the tree, looking at the tree, when all of a sudden I felt part of the tree and I was in the roots of the tree. And I started to move up the tree. And as I was moving up the tree, I started going through layers of timelines as I started going up the tree. Anyway, the tree starts to talk to me. And it said to me, you're going to Serpent Mount. You're going to Serpent Mount. And there's a reason why you're going to Serpent Mount. But we just want to remind you of who you are and what you are bringing. And they spoke to me about, and it was quite interesting because I never had confirmation of that until Terry's husband, Thomas, spoke about it. Because what the tree was telling me was that so what the tree was telling me was that there was a collection of serpent mounds of the snake effigy that goes all around the planet in a circle right around the planet. And I didn't know, I didn't have any confirmation about that. And I thought to myself, I don't know if I'm going to mention that because I don't know. But anyway, when Thomas talked this morning, I thought, that's right, there is. Anyway, we're in that, you know, we completed a hoop and we're in a new hoop. And that's so look, renewal and new beginnings. And at the moment, this is unfolding in a world of chaos. Chaos, not so much of what's been happening on the planet, because that's going to happen. But chaos with us coming to the realization of where we are and what we as a collective can move forward from that. Yeah. And what's happening is not scary, but it's a part of that, has to take place for that renewal to unfold. So a part of this was, they said to me, you are going to go to the Serpent Mound and you are going to be at the tail of the serpent. But what I know about that. You know. And then Terry messages me and she says to me, Rachel, will you come over? We have to set aside some time because I want to take you to the tail of the serpent. And so the reason of being at the tail of the serpent has to do with those collective effigies that are around the planet. I always find that when you do universal work, there's always someone on the physical as well as someone on the spiritual. And they work cohesively together. Everybody does. Yeah. And I'm going to take this time now to acknowledge each and every one of you for the service that you do. Because you all do. And thank you for that. And, you know, I can't imagine what it must have taken for you to be here at this time. Because I know that some of you, it wouldn't, you know, it would have been an easy trip. It would have just flowed just like that. And then for others, it may have been just a little bit more of a journey to get here. And so I want to acknowledge that as you got here. At home in my country, what's happening to us now is that we are feeling the effects of the ocean rising. And so for a lot of our coastlines around our country, well, people that have built around the coastlines are losing their houses because of the rising waters that are happening right now. And I'm one of those people. Because when I go home, I have to sell up my house where I live in Auckland, and I'm heading back home to the barrier. And where I live down there, where I got a home down there where my daughter lives in it, and the water is rising high. It is eroding the banks along where our house is. And I said to my daughter a year ago, I said to her, Ray, we have one more year left here, and then we're going to have to move. And we're going to have to move higher. And she goes, Mom, I don't want to leave here because I love it here. I said, I love it here too. But we are still going to have to move up to higher ground because there ain't going to be a house to live in soon. It's going to be in the ocean. So I went home 2 weeks before I travelled here. I like to go home and I had 2 weeks home because we've got no power at home. We don't even have solar panels. We've got no electricity whatsoever. We've got no TV, no lights. We have candlelight. And, but it's great. I love it because I go home. Who needs TV? No cell phone, no nothing. And I just connect with nature. I just spend hours outside walking through the Ngāhere, which is the bushvals, going on the moana, the sea, and just connecting to our Mother Earth energies. The very thing I need before taking a journey across the oceans is to go home and connect and power up in a way, because it's like powering up for me to do the journey. You know, the first time I came here, there was 3 of us that came. The second time I came here, there was 2 of us that came from Aotearoa. And we were whānau here, but that joined us. But there was 2 of us that travelled from Aotearoa. This trip, I was told, you were going to go on the trip, but you were going to be on your own. Oh, you know, it wasn't so much being here, it was the travelling. I thought, I don't know if I can do that. Big airports, you know, and you've got to navigate your way. Well, you know, Houston airport, well, you know, our airports are no near the size of the airports that you have here. And I thought, how am I going to navigate this, you know, through this without having a meltdown? Really. But no, I thought, no, just stay calm, stay settled, have your mind cleared, let your heart be open, and let you connect with your soul, and together, all of us will make this journey. And I made it. And for me, it was, you know, a big thing because I've never travelled on my own before. Oh, yeah, yeah, never travelled on my own before. So, yeah. So going back to, going back to the earth changes that we're feeling at the moment. So we're adapting to it. So we know that the sea levels are rising. If you don't want to get wet, well then don't build your house by the sea or by water. You don't want to get wet. So everyone's going higher. In our communities, we're building up the communities and strengthening communities because communities are important. And like someone said, it takes a village to look after children. And it does, it takes a village to look after people and to support each other. So in our maraes, we've opened up our maraes and we're using those maraes to strengthen people in the communities that the maraes are in. It's teaching them how to go back to gardening, how to live out of your cupboard instead of going to a supermarket, because one day there may not be food in the supermarket. So it's going back to the roots of learning how to grow your food, how to store your food. And we're doing that. So this summer when I was home at the barrier, it's being summertime, we've got all the summertime fruit and everyone's bottling, every house you go to, they're all bottling peaches, pears, all to store up for the winter. And some people even bottle meat products, fish products. Some people store them in henu, which is fat. You don't need a fridge for that. So we're teaching and sharing this knowledge with each other in a way of preparation for one day that we may be living like that, or where we are. Yeah. So recently, in the last few years, I'm talking about how we made the rako, the kauri tree, a living entity. Well, we've made some mangas a living entity too. So Mount Taranaki, I don't know if anyone's been to Mount Taranaki in New Zealand. Well, that is now a living entity. And some of our waterways, because for us, everything on land is a living entity. But to protect those things, we have to work through the government to protect them, to say that there is no mining, no oiling that happens around these mangas, these rivers, and we certainly do not sell our water. Our water is a precious resource. We hold on to it. And we don't sell it and bottle it and take it overseas. Other people that own their land, that are separate from our tribal land, they sell their water on their land, but we don't, because it's an important resource to keep. Recently, the government decided, right, Well, they made all these living entities. But some of these places that they're asking for to make living entities are natural resources are plentiful there. And so they thought, right, but we've already made this a living entity. So what happened was the government decided, we have a treaty with the government that goes back when the Europeans first came to Aotearoa. And we call that Te Reti o Waitangi. It was agreement that we made. In our Maori version, we were the we had ownership of the land and we looked after the resources of our land. Anyway, so basically what happened was the English came over and said, well, there's Spanish out there and they're going to come here and they're going to take over your land. So we want to offer you protection. We want to offer you protection. And in return, you allow us to come here and to stay here. And so it was agreed upon by our ancestors that this could happen. When the treaty came to be signed, there was two versions, one in English and one in Maori. The one in Maori was the one that we drew up, which stated what I just said. And the second version had the opposite. It had, on the English version, they were the ones that had authority over the land. But because my ancestors couldn't read English, they didn't know what was written in their treaty, but found out later. Nowadays, we use that treaty against the government. Their own version of what they gave us, we use it against them. So how the government responded to that was they decided, well, we're going to abolish the treaty and there's going to be no treaty. We're going to take the treaty away and it will no longer have any relevance to them anymore. So we did a march, a protest march to say, no, we don't accept that. We are going to keep the treaty the way that it is. So we started this march at the top of the North Island, and it was like a baton. So we went so far and walked, and another group of people would take on the baton. And we did this all the way to the capital city of Wellington and took it to Parliament. And what amazed us was, because usually when we do these marches, it's mainly Maori, but on this march, we had everybody turn out. All cultures came and took part in that. And I think there was about 20,000 people that ended up in Wellington to say, we don't accept that. We're going to keep the treaty. So we found a way that we can use that treaty to our benefit. And that's why they wanted to abolish it. So, you know, you do what you need to do to protect your resources, to protect the land, to protect Mother Earth, because all they want to do is mine it for oil, mine it for gold, take the water resources. So that's how we kaitiaki our land and look after it in our land. And we'll keep being that guardian of the land because we don't own the land. We never did own the land. No one can own the land. But what we are is we're the kaitiakis, we're the guardians that look after this piece of land. And we don't rape and pillage it. Because there's no money in the world that can replace that. no money in the world. And your cause heard out everywhere, not just in your country, not just for people, but with everything that seed substance of Mother Earth is heard and felt. And they're part of that collective group where there's no separation whatsoever. I recently did my genealogy, because the last time I was here, Debbie Wesley here works at the library and she does genealogy for cold cases. She said to me, Rachel, why don't you do your genealogy? And I was never interested in before. And I thought, well, I'll get told, you know, but there's never been any confirmation of it. But I got told, you know, and she said, no, you should come and do it. So we started to do it. And I went home and continued it. And what I found out when I looked at all of the, you know, the main strands of my DNA and where they went to, and then the chromosome groupings, I noticed was all around the world, everywhere, just about in every country. And here's our connection, you know, we're all connected. We're all family. And wow, I just think that's just wonderful. Because I come here and I connect with people, and I don't see you as separations. You're my relatives. Each and every one are my relatives. We may be all unique in our expression, but we're all connected. We're still all connected. And I had to share something with you, because this journey too, I'm not a speaker. I was extroverted. You know, to stand up like this, I never ever saw that. Or to travel like a travel and share with everyone. I just didn't even imagine that possible. When I was 16, I went out and I thought, well, I'm going to have an astrology reading. So I went to this place and it cost me $150. And when they had finished it, they said, come in and we'll go over your charts with you. And I thought, okay. I worked in a takeaway bar, which I had worked for 10 years. All I did was go to work, go home, go to work, go home, go to work, go home. And so when I got there, they said, wow, you've got an interesting chart. You're going to be around so many people, and some of these people, you're going to be around big groups of children. You're going to be traveling around the world. And I thought, you know what I thought? I just wasted $150. And he continued sharing with me, but all that was on my mind was, I just wasted $150. Because this person that they were talking about, I didn't see that person. That's not me. And how that I was going to go and share and speak, definitely not me. No. I have a performance anxiety, you know. I used to get up and go like shaking. No, I can't see that. But they were absolutely right. I worked for 24 years with youth at risk and mental health services, prison services, and I travelled meeting all different cultures. Everything that they said that I was going to do, I ended up doing. But at the time, yeah, I just couldn't see that. I just thought, what a waste of money. I just wasted $150. That was half of my rent at the time for a week. So I thought, yeah, but yeah, they're absolutely right. Is there any questions that anyone wants to ask? Or I continue.
When did you first realize that that was your destiny?
Well, what happened was I was working at the takeaway bar and I decided I'm leaving. So I left and quit my job. I didn't have another job to go to, but I just quit. Because there was something that was developing inside, and it was the need to help people. So I went and worked at victim support, and I did that for what is a volunteer service that they have in New Zealand. The only thing is that you have to use your own car, and they don't give you petrol to go around. And I kept on getting call outs and said, isn't there anyone else? Because this is my fourth call out for the week. And, you know, it's costing me gas and stuff like that. And they go, oh no, because no one's available. Oh, okay. So I carried on with that. And then my husband at the time, he applied for this job working with youth. And he got the job. And he said to me, when that guy rings up and he says to me, you got the job, can you tell him that I decided that I didn't want to do it? And I go, me? Why don't you tell him? And he goes, oh my God, can you tell him? Can you tell him? So anyway, he rings up and his name was Felix Donnelly. He was a Catholic priest and he ran this roof program. Anyways, told him that my husband had a change of heart and he's decided that he didn't want to go and work there. But I will. And he said, will you? Well, come in for an interview tomorrow. So I went in for the interview. I was sitting there with a panel, I think there were 6 of us, and they had these folders or these CVs that went from page to page and they were flicking through them. And I'm sitting there, but oh, I haven't got anything. I don't have a CV. And I go, what's that you got? And I go, that's your CV because I want to see your CV. And I go, I haven't got one. I only worked at one place. And so anyway, I was sitting there and you got interviewed. And I went home and he rings me up and he goes, Rachel, welcome aboard. You got the job. And I went, wow, okay. So he gives me the address, we just start work, and I go there and I start walking down this driveway and I come out of the driveway and there's this 2-story house that honestly looked like the Munster house. And there was these kids, teenage kids running around and all you can hear was F this and F that, smoking cigarettes. And I thought, oh my God, what am I coming into? So I thought, no, that's not. So I turned around before I got to the end of the driveway and anyone saw me. And the kids yelled out, hey, miss, if you come for the job, I'll take you up. I'll take you to the interview. So, okay. And that's how I went to work. Then I ended up staying there for 24 years. And that was such a journey. Yeah. And yeah, and that's when I realised, to answer that question, is when I got that job, I realised, yeah, here comes the kids. Yeah. And then everything just clicked in. All the rest of that reading just started falling into place like dominoes. Yeah. And yeah, and it's just like the journey here, you know, it's just amazing anyway. When I take breaks like that, it's because I'm hearing things. But anyway, there's just this song. I woke up this morning and I put my hands at that. I got out of the bed and I could still feel that vibration, but it wasn't as strong as I felt it yesterday. And I came out here, and I was glad about that because it was really like this. So it sort of balanced itself out with. Yeah. And what I noticed was that there was a change that's taking place right now. There's been a shift in energy that's happening right now. And it was like, wow. If you could never feel it, I would never know, you know. But yeah. Yes.
So can you describe the energy as life-giving or not life-giving, positive or?
It's the energy is coming from my feet, so it's coming from what we call papatuanuku,
Okay.
or Mother Earth. It's coming from the earth. Mainly from the earth, yeah. Earth energies. Yes, yes, I do. Yeah. And I'll speak a little bit about that. Because I talked about genealogy before. What I found out when I started doing my genealogy, I started to like go back through genealogy. You know when you have past lives and you think, right, I had a past life in this place and this happened, and I had a past life in that place and that happened. But I found out that this genealogy goes way, way back to the stars. Way back to the stars, actually. And you can access these genealogy lines. And I found, wow, I can go back further and start healing some of those lines in the genealogy, which I have been doing. Because people used to say to me, yeah, well, you know, I think we, you know, with everything that happens, it's quite old, and I think we need to go, you know, back to look at our whakapapa. Whakapapa is really important to us, and that's our genealogy. It's really important. It's our connection. Everything. We can heal those lines. Yeah, and it's come at a good time, because when you think about what's happening now, to heal those lines now only strengthens everything. That you don't have to carry trauma that goes back centuries ago and going back to your ancestors. That imprints on us in the future, that we can heal them and be more stronger, more resilient, and more connected. Yes. Yes. Well, yeah, okay. So it started off with, well, I got taught it from the genealogy, actually, which I didn't know at the time how it worked. But I was born with a sight. So I always had that, but I never worked with it. I used to communicate with other spirit beings that were here, but I never used it until one day it happened and I started to use it, because they taught you what to do. And it started off like leasing people's houses that were afflicted by spirits that remained back in these houses. And then it went to land, and I used to have to travel there. So I would go to the land and do the same thing, but on the land instead of in a home. And then when I went out to stay at Limestone, which is all made of limestone, things changed. I think you change and you develop your style, let us say. And what happened was that when I got there, I found out that I don't have to go to these places, they can come to you. So we used to, and I used to always do it on the full moon and do these pieces. I would let it know that there was going to be one, and they will just gather. They'll just come to you and gather there until the full moon ceremony. And you hear about the Egyptians, how they used to take all their belongings with them for the afterlife. Well, so did they. So when they used to pass by you, they had their baskets of food, they had all their belongings, and you knew that they didn't need to take that with them, but you allow them to take it because that was their way to have these things. But they do. They take all their belongings with them over to the other side. And then it started going through timelines, different timelines. Again, I think this is the genealogy timelines. And you started clearing them on that level. But the reason was that the land needed to be cleared from these energies that were dense, and they needed to go where they needed to be. And all you're doing is helping them. So most of them want to go. They don't really want to be here. But they don't know how to cross over. Because whether they missed that window when they passed away and they got held where they were, and some of them have been there, for a few hundred years. Until you help them cross over. I watch paranormal investigations, and they have those, what do you call them, EVIs or something, and they talk into spirit, and spirit's saying, help me, how do you want me to help you, help me. I feel so sad for them because they don't know how to help them cross them over. Yeah. So anyway, that's how it started, and it just evolved from there. Someone down here wanted to ask a question?
Yes, my question.
Oh. Okay. Yes.
You have some of your ancestry after you found out where you come from?
Yeah, well, some of it will go back to, some people who died in wars and traumatic deaths that could have shipped on and had been stuck there for all that time. How do I shift them, are you asking me?
Some synchronicities or just an example of like how you really healed.
Synchronicities, a lot of that took place. Developed as well. So they went out and it ended up by using the stargates to move big groups of people and in different timelines, yeah. And we have portals over in Aotearoa too, and some of them you can travel through. One of them goes from Aotearoa right to Glastonbury. So you go there. Some of them go to Peru. Some of them come here. Yeah, so there's all that communication. There's all that life still existing, still communicating with you. Yeah.
So having to open your heart repeatedly through the day, and if so, how do you do that?
No, I don't have to open my heart during the day because I come with my heart open. To my power spot. I prepare myself to come. So it'll all do with, I talked about how to quiet the mind. Quietening the mind opens up my heart, opens up the heart. When the heart is open, the soul is open. And when it goes back to the mind is light. When the mind is light, the heart vibrates. When the heart vibrates, it opens a frequency with the soul. when it opens up the frequency with the soul, it puts you in at 1 minute. And there's a couple of more layers there, but it puts you at a 1 minute to answer that question. Yeah, and that will stay with you. That will take you out of the humanness and put you more into your consciousnesses. So, you know, on my human side, I may think this, but on that side, I think something else. On my human side, I might feel fear, but on this side, I don't. Yeah. So, yeah, oh, that's how it works for me.
The question is, where does your people originate from in the constellations, and what is the significance of wearing jade and your ancestors?
Okay. So, so let me talk about my mokokawai. So down the bottom here on my chin is all my tribal links. I've got 4 main tribal links, and they all in this design on my chin. And all the tribal patterns are the same. So we may look at someone's mokokawai and we see that they got 3 tribal links, or they have 4 tribal links, but each pattern is distinctive to a tribe. And the one that I have on my forehead is because we also have to acknowledge our star family, because that's where we came from before here. And so in this one here, it connects me to Pleiades and Sirius and Lyra. And that's what this one is. Yeah. Other Waihine women that have mokokawai, they might only just have this part and not the celestial part, because that's a journey they're still on. And when they travel that journey, then they're able to put that one on. The thing is, when we have mokokawai, we don't know how they're going to incorporate the design. Some of them are quite wide and go across the face, you know, and you don't know what it looks like until they finish, because there's a ritual that goes around getting a mokokawai. So, you know, a lot of karakia prayers take place. Usually the person that is doing the tāmoko, and we usually get our own tribal person that does tāmoko, and they do it for you, so your family. All your family take part in it, and they surround you, and they sing waiata while you do that, while you're having your kawai moko done. And you don't get to see it until afterwards. And the reason why I got mine done was because every now and then, people used to see it on your face. And it, not just Māori people, but other cultures too. And they go, oh, you know, when I came into this room for this interview, you had a kawai moko. And then when you turn around, it was gone. I go, oh yeah, that happens sometimes. And my mother said to me, go and get your kawai moko, because my mother's the only one, because she's the elder than me. She's the only one that can give me permission to have it done. I cannot go out and do it myself. Yeah. And I said to her, Mum, I'm not ready for that, because I want to be able to wear it without feeling shy, or what we call whakapapa, without feeling shy, without trying to hide all the time. I said, so I'm not ready for it. 10 years later, it came, and I thought, yeah, I'm ready for it. One night I was at home, and I stayed on a farm. And you have a lot of open land, because you've got dry stock on the land, like cows, bulls, and sheep. And we had this wind that came in, it just whooped around the house, and it blew every window open up in the house. And this this energy came into the house, and anyway, what I got from the energy was, it's time to get your kāwai moko. And I said to them, well, and they said, and if you don't, we're not going to come back and see you. And I said, well, because I felt ready, I thought, you know, there's synchronicity. And I said, well, if you want me to have this, I'm ready for it, but then you have to, you know, make it possible, because I don't know where to go, who to see. And anyway, the very next day after that, I had a cousin that came up from the King Country, and she said, can I stay at your place for a couple of days? And I said, yes. You know you're always welcome. And I said, what are you coming up for? And she said, I'm taking you for your kāwai moko. Oh, wow. Talk about instant. And I said to her, wow. And she goes, so I'm coming over to stay with you tonight. Tomorrow we're going to go and the family's going to be there and you're going to have your kāwai moko. And she says, are you okay with that? And I said, I'm okay with that. Yes.
Other rites of passage. I know you said for that, that's like when you're ready and your mom gives you permission, but are there other rites of passage in your culture?
Yeah, there's other rites of passage, just like Native American culture. We have rites of passage from childhood to teenagehood to adulthood to adulthood. Yeah. So we have rites of passage that we.
And they all just look different, each ceremony or ritual for that? Or
Yes,
is it-
yes, yeah, yeah. They're all different. Yeah. Yes.
You said you worked in the mental health field.
Yeah.
Do you think that helped your spiritual practice, or do you think they're different?
I think, yeah, I think that they're really unique people, you know, people's, our relations that have mental health. They're very intelligent, you know. Yeah, and it depends on the journey that they have through trauma, it may be. But sometimes it's not about you going there to heal them. It's about you being with them, and just being with them is healing them. Yeah, without telling them, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. I never, you know, used to go, yeah, they had to shower and things like that. I never went in and go, everyone used to go, I used to work with a lot of Indian people, and they're quite, you know, out there, and they'll go, have your bath, Charlie. Have your bath. I want to have a burger. Where I would go and I go, I left a towel for you. There's a towel there, and I left some shampoo for you for when you have a shower. And of course, they will go and have a shower because you're not telling them what to do. Because, you know, a lot of them think we've got mental health. Yeah, but there's all types of mental health here. Yes. Oh, yes, we do. Yeah, yeah. Not the snake, but we have a effigy of a tuatara, which is like a lizard on a mountain, one of our mountains, yeah. And ours would be the eel, because the eels are important to us. They're like living, well, they're all living entities, but the eels are really important to us. They're like guardians too, kaitiakis. They aren't guardians. We never eat them. We don't eat eels where I come from, because we look at the eels as our kaitiaki. We also have stingray, but we'll never eat stingray for the same reason. I can tell you a story about a stingray if you'd like to hear it. Yeah. Okay. So back in the Maori battalion in the Second World War, is it, or the First War? Well, when the Maori battalion travelled overseas, and they went to Egypt and Well, what happened is a group of three of my relatives, which are my ancestors, travelled over. But before they went, they thought, right, we need guardianship while we're there. So they went to see the tohunga. The tohunga is like, the head spiritual person of the tribes. Because they schooled at what they're doing, that's why they call them a tohunga. Tohunga means someone that's got a skill. And so we went to them and they said, they need a guardian. So the tohunga cut a tail off a stingray, preserved it in oil, and said, take this with you and it will help guide you and it will bring you home safely. Anyway, when they returned, they all returned back from the war. And when they brought back the stingray tail, the tohunga had passed away during that time. And they thought, well, what are they going to do with the tail of the stingray? So they just chucked it in the river, in the bottle, stored in the bottle and placed it in the river. Anyway, in spirit, we had this stingray that used to travel from the North Island to the barrier, because same iwi. North Island to the barrier used to travel backwards and forwards, and we found out it was looking for its tail, and it was looking for its tail. And so anyway, my mother said, well, we need to get a tohunga to help get back this tail. And the tohungas would say, well, we need permission from everyone in your tribe to be able to come onto the land to be able to do this. But what happened before they got there? One had passed away, one got sick, and that's when I had my awakening. That's when I started the work. Because I went to the barrier once and I came back and I wasn't on my own when I came back. My house was full of spirits. And I thought, oh, what am I going to do about this? So I approached a Maori church, which is called the Rachael Church. And I asked them if they can come and bless my house. He said to me, come to my home. So I went to his home and my mother came with me and my aunt came with me and we went to his home. And when we got there, we went into this room and there's this group of people in the room, sitting around in the room, Maori and European and different cultures. And he said to me, well, when you came into the building, you didn't come in alone, you come in with a lot of people behind you, So we're going to do a karakia just to settle, to bring Noa. Noa means balance for us, to bring balance and so that we can talk. And anyway, this woman stood up and said to me, and she was a European woman, she stood up and she said to me, you have got so much work to do. And I'm thinking, what will we? You are going to be so busy. She goes, do you have a family? Are you married? And I said, yes. How old are your children? I told her. And she said, well, it's a shame because you were going to be doing this work, but it's going to be at the sacrifice of your family. And I'm thinking, what work is she talking about? And we left, and they said, right, we want you to come back in 2 weeks. So I left, and I'm in the car with my mother and my auntie, and I said, what do you think? What work were they talking about? Do you know what work they're talking about? And Mum said, no, I'm not sure. Mum said, I don't know. And anyway, 2 weeks later, we went back. And there were all these cars outside his house. And I thought, oh, God, he's a busy man. Anyway, we're walking in and someone says, are you here for the tangi, which is a funeral? And I said, no, we come to see the minister. And he goes, that's his tangi. He passed away. I went, oh, okay. So I went and I thought, oh, okay. And so we hopped in the car and I thought, oh, who's going to help me now? Anyway, another tohunga from where I come in Tainui and Tainui tribe, he came up to see, my mother contacted him and he came up to see me. He said to my mother, because I only speak Maori, they never speak English. He said to me that, she will have to translate what he is saying to me. She'll have to translate it to me because he will not speak English. So he's translating to me what's happening to me. And then he says, hang on a minute. And he starts talking English to me. He said, basically what I'm going to tell you is that you're going to do what I'm doing. And I go, what you're doing? He goes, I'm a ghostbuster. And I go, oh no. He goes, I'm a ghostbuster. And you're going to be doing that too. And oh no, I'm not a ghostbuster. No. I don't even I couldn't even sleep with the light off, I always used to sleep with the light on. And because he said, most of your work is going to be at night time. Oh no. I don't like being out in the dark. Well, anyway, he said, right, I'm going to come down to the barrier and help you with the stingray. And he said, so I'll see you in 2 months. And in that 2 months, I just had this accelerated learning. And it came from my people that, my relatives of mine that had passed away, like my great-grandmother, my grandmother, great-great-grandmother. They're all doing this work that I'm doing. They done it when they were alive. I remember my grandmother, she used to go out at night and then she'd come back, she has all the slime and stuff on her. And we used to run this bath and we used to use swamp weed, which is that, I don't know if you have it here, but it's like this green weed that grows over the top of lakes and rivers, and ponds. And we used to collect that and put it in her bath water, and I used to make the bath water turn red. And she used to have soap in it. And that's what we used to help revitalize the energy, and that's why we used to do it. And I had the job of pulling up the bathtub, keeping the bath hot. And you had to help her out because she was so exhausted. We used to help her out, dress her, put her to bed, feed her, look after her until she was able to gain all her energy back. And I thought, wow, what am I going to be doing? Because I saw what happened to my grandmother, And we never knew, because she never ever shared with us what happened when she used to go out on this work. Never ever shared with us. We didn't know what she was doing. I thought, what am I walking into? But anyway, I went through this accelerated learning. And not only did they tell you, but they gave you their experience physically too. So they will teach you something, and next month they'll give you the physical experience of that. So you experienced it as well. Anyway, 2 months later, the tohunga comes back and we're talking, and he's having his cup of tea. He's looking at me. And Mum said to him, where would you like to go? Come down to the barrier. He said, I'm not going. And Mum said, oh, why is that? He said, I don't need to go because your daughter can do it. Oh, I'm thinking, what? I can't do that. But again, you get taught. So the first time out, I had to stand on a beach. And I had to do this kārangi as loud as I can over the water. And I was like, oh my gosh, people are going to hear that and think I'm crazy, All my relatives that live around me are going to hear me standing on the beach at midnight going, what the heck is Rachael doing down on the beach? Well, when it came to the time, my mother came with me and my aunt again, she came with me, and we went down to the beach. And we have dogs, everyone's got dogs. And every time you walk down to the beach, they all go off like a synchronicity, all the way down to the beach. And when I went down there, no dogs barked. Oh, wow, no dogs bark. And we stood on the waterside and we did this karanga. And these walkers came in and collected the spirits and then went out again. And more take place. And we're working with the environment too. So the owls are even there. The owls are around and they speak. We speak to owls and they speak. They're like veteran gap. They come in and help and they tell you what's happening on the other side. And anyway, that was my first time. Nobody heard a thing. And when we all finish at sunrise, so that's the end of the day and the beginning of a new day, and everything's completed. So at sunrise, and then can we return? And then we have a celebration of food, and we share food together. And everyone started coming up because they go, wow, we heard that you were going to do this and we were going to come down to the beach. But they all fell asleep. And they said, and they had all these stories about their dreams, and everyone dreamt about their loved one, a loved one on the other side, coming to visit them, coming to say, hug them, love them, and say goodbye to them. And, asked her older men, yeah, I dreamt of my mother last night. She came in, she was kissing my face, we were hugging, yeah. And, but yeah, we never heard you. But only those that were meant to be there were there, were present, and those had the privilege of seeing their loved ones. Yeah. And that was the first time. That was and after that, many started happening.
Have all the spirits that you've encountered been ancestral human spirits, or have you come across any non-human spirits or animal spirits?
Yes, animal spirits. Yeah, we come across animal spirits. Non-human spirits, yeah. For instance, like the Maori people weren't the first people on New Zealand. Yeah, they weren't the first people on New Zealand. So there's a story. I'll share this one. So we have a story about there was an ancient people on the land well before us, and they were called Lemurians. And then the story it goes that one day the land was starting to thicken. They knew this. They knew this 1,000 years before it started to happen. And in that 1,000 years, they used that 1,000 years to store what they needed to store for the future, and knowledge and other things that they needed to use for the future, and they stored that. And they had a people, and they were giants. And so we have red-headed giants over in Aotearoa. They're about 15 foot down to 10 foot tall. We see even, DNA of those ancestors and people, because my son-in-law, he's 6'5", and his brother's 7 foot, and through the whole family line, they're tall. And we go, well, we know where you come from. You're far off from. Yeah, so we still have those, still look at there, and you can still see them in the night. But yeah, they were here at the time of the Maria and the sinking of that. They never ever left. But everybody else, because they had to, because there wasn't going to be enough land for everyone to live on, they all went out what we call into the 4 directions of Earth. They went over the 4 directions, and they are all utilised. Anyway, the first time I heard about Lemuria, I saw this old man, and he was standing, he had like white hair all the way down, a long beard, and he was standing in front of this gateway, and at the back of him, he had this sort of like crystal temple that's around, I think I could destroy it. And he said to me, "You're from Lemuria." Yeah, what, where's Lemuria? I've never heard of Lemuria at that time. I went around asking people, have you ever heard of Lemurian? And they go, no. And I was, well, apparently it's around here. They go, no, but they don't know. Where did you hear that? And I said, oh, well, Spirit coming and told, well, I saw it was like a vision. And he said that I was Lemurian, they come from Lemurian, and he mentioned also me. And I don't know, I never heard of it. And when we got internet, we found out, we heard this talk about Lemuria, and that was the first time we ever heard about it, and that was about 5 years after that, got told that. Yeah, so they told me. So anyway, there was a group of people from the Lemurian that never ever left and all stayed on the country. And when my Pacific ancestors came and they did the migration to New Zealand, they all got killed. They were peaceful people, they were vegetarians, they lived in harmony with everybody else, but they wouldn't have a species there, they were really little people, or we call them whakapapa, and they all lived in harmony together. And these were all like ancestors of mine came in and annihilated them until there was none left. And even the bones of those, they used the bones to make roads. And, you know, the Europeans would say to the Maoris, what do you want to do with these bones? They go, do what you like, because they're not ours. You know? And so a lot of that went into roadways. But yeah, they're very much still there. No, nothing different. The thing. Yes, I do. Yeah. 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 So when I lived down in, in a place called Gisborne, and it's along the ocean, I used to go out there quite a lot. I used to have a mermaid that used to come and visit me. When it came out of the water, it had legs. And it would come and visit me. I used to think, oh, that's just a dream. But I found out, no, it's not. Yes, I very much really was. And we take dolphins, whales, fish. Yeah. I recently became, in the last, I think called a lifetime, a vegetarian. And when I became a vegetarian, my whole health changed, you know, by not eating a lot. I was a real meat eater, so I could do that easy. And but yeah, so yeah, it's amazing how you can change or you can change it around you. You know, dolphins will come into us. There's that place on the South Island where my relatives still exists there. And it has, we call it Golden Bay. It's like an opening of the bay, but it has this peninsula that comes out of the sea. It's only not very wide and got the ocean on each side of it. The whales come in and they get caught in there and they get beached up in there. But my ancestors used to go out and they used to stand on that point and they used to do it hard owner, they'd guide them out to sea. But no one does that anymore, it's not everyone's lost that knowledge how to do that. Yes.
Is the son-in-law you just referred to who was 6'5", the one that was here, 4 or 5?
No.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm curious, that man I'm remembering was a lawyer who was working for the Indigenous rights.
Yes.
How's he doing?
He's doing, yeah, no, he's still doing it and he's doing fine and he's moved into more of the education and, but what he's doing is he's developing programs for, it's not focused on Maori, but what he's doing is initiating programs for Maori so that they can go and do education. They do that. he's such a busy person, he's got his finger in all sorts of pies, because he's a person who wants to do everything at once. Yeah, so he teamed up with some pilots, and you hear about those drone planes? And he teamed up with a group of pilots, and one of them was in Canada, and they were right, we're gonna start this drone plane service. So they travelled over to Canada, the States and other places, and to set up this project that they're going to do up. It's not going yet, because what they're doing now is advertising for pilot. But, you know, and then he's, and his great grandfather started a trust, it's called a Wipere Trust, and they do horticulture, they do farming, and all that, and now he's part of the trust. He always wanted to be part of this, the trust of his grandfather, and he was a founder of it. And so he's visiting. I said to him, how do you get to do all these things all at once, and where do you get all the energy from? But he's just got balance of being able, he just goes and goes and goes. He's like a really battery that never runs out. And he's very deeply immersed in his culture, and his Maori culture. And he's actually half Indian. No. Really spent most of her life as in Tibet. So she did all those, a lot of farms in the North Island and South Island, and that's always been her work. And when she retired from there, she was working with mental health. And that's when she's working out. She loves it. Yeah. Self-healing is really important. Yeah, because it, you know, everyone can self-heal. There's healing and there's responsibility for your body. I still smoke cigarettes. I always get, you know, on the outside, the hide the cigarettes, and I'll find the hide the lighter, and I'll find the lighter, and I know what they're doing, and they go, oh, I'm not really sure I'm smoking yet. But I know within myself, it's time. It's time. So I feel that when I go back, I have to go shift in that way. Because I'm not smoking the cigarettes are smoking me. So I'm talking to that entity that's smoking me. That, no, you ain't gonna smoke me anymore. Nobody over here. Yeah.
That has come through for you that you felt called to share with everyone, that is like simple and heartfelt, that, you know, me personally, I'm always looking for, you know, the highest truth, and just something simple that I can live my life by.
The highest truth comes from inside yourself. That's where it comes. So once you connect to you, and not externally, but internally, it will come. I'll be
You're in the southern hemisphere. If you notice, like when I was in Brazil, I was a little disoriented of finding my directions. And the second part is, what are you water people talking about the reversal of magnetic field in the South Pacific that's getting bigger and bigger, which is one indication of a possible flip-flop. Are you talking about that?
Yeah, we're talking about that. And yeah, we're gonna go for big shakes. You know, people talk about healing the planet. We need to heal the planet. The planet is perfect as it is. We don't need to heal the planet.
the plant heals itself. And it goes through the cycle
It's on her.
of doing.
They could do better without us here.
Yeah, well, even though we're all indigenous to the earth. But yeah, so it's what we're doing, you know. How we're responding to the earth, how we're responding to the universe and our human way. And so a part of that going with it, well, remember who you are. It'll link you back to your roots of who you are and why you're here. And the guardianship that you'll bring to the earth, to the planet. I don't know about that, because I was looking at the sky last night and it's quite different to what I see at home. It's like, I'm here to like orientate myself, oh yeah, okay, over here, it's usually over here, and it's over here, yeah. I had an experience when I was home at the Baron. Cause I would sit outside on the deck with my daughter, and she's 43. And we sit there about twilight, this is my favourite time. Twilight is, I like to go and sit outside, but I still see some of the sun coming down. Anyway, this time we were sitting outside and I said, Ray, and because we're looking right over there, right over the bay, and there's hills all around us. And I said, Ray, looking over there, what do you see? She looks at me and like, is this a trick question or what? And I said, what do you mean, what do I see? I said, look across there and tell me what you see. And she said, I see hills, I see water, the sea, the sky. She goes, why, what do you see? I said, you look at the colours as the sun is starting to lower and it's changing the contours of the hills with reflecting of different lights. And see the nice purples across the hills and that. And she goes, yeah. Oh yeah, I see that. Anyway, I waited a half an hour and I said to him, Ray, what do you see? Across there. She goes, oh, I can see the stars are starting to come out. It's dark, but I can still see some lights over there on the tree, and I can see all the limestone rock that's going right down into the water. You can see it all around the edge, and it's shining white. Wow, I never really noticed that before, she said, and how the limestone is shining up the coastline with this white light. And I said to her, you know, Ray, my grandfather, he sat down with me, and because he liked twilight too. And he sat down with me and he said to me, ask me the same question, what do you see? Look over there and tell me what you see. And I thought the same as her. So that's about it. And I replied the same way she did. But what it taught me was to be more observant around our environment of what we're seeing. Because we miss out that if our minds are too busy and we're too distracted with other things, we miss out on these beautiful things that happen. And he taught me that. And so we sit out there. Anyway, we were sitting here, and when it got dark, we saw one of those, we call them starlight satellites. And it went past and she goes, Mum, there's a starlight satellite. I go, wow, I've never seen one before. Well, I haven't seen one for a while, I said to him. And anyway, we were sitting there, wow, that was cool. And then one came over the hill and this light started coming over the hill. And I said, Ray, what's that? She was like, oh my gosh, that's another one. And it came over the hill. It looked so close to me. It came down, it was like right in front of me. I could see how it looked. It had like these lights at the bottom, a bit of a rod and all these lights going up. Had a section with a little bit of rigging on it and then a straight pole and more lights. And it came over and when it crossed in front of the Jeep, I was like looking up into it and I was like, wow, that is so close. You know, I've never seen one that's so close. And she said, what do you mean you see rigging? There's no rigging. And I go, yeah, I could see it. I go, you could look up into it. And she says, no. And I go, well, what did you see? She said, I just saw, you know, like the lights, but no ribbon coming over in the sky. But you were here going like this and you're going like that. And what do you call that? And then I realised what happened. And someone talked about it while their thoughts. What do you call it? What's the word for it? No. But she said to me, Mum, maybe you saw a UAP. And I go, no, it's called, you know, like, you can draw, you know, it could be in a building, you can draw what's around it. Yeah, remote viewing. And I thought, oh, no, I know what happened. That's a bit of a remote viewing here. Yeah. But that was the first experience I get so clear like that. It's like you could reach out and touch it. I've had stars like that though, come down and they're so close that you feel like you can touch them. Does anyone else have any more questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious what kind of training you had along the way. Like so many of your gifts seem to naturally arise, but have people been guiding you?
Well, I was born into a toxic family. That was very helpful. I had a toxic family and we get this toxic family I live with. But yeah, that helped a lot actually, because that taught me a lot. And I thank my parents for it today. Because it wasn't for that life I chose to come into their family, to be part of that family and have that toxic upbringing, I wouldn't be here today, I think. Yeah. But that would be the catalyst for me, was having a toxic family. But yeah, and saying that, I still honour my mum and my dad. I don't have any ill feelings about them or anything like that. You know, I chose them to be my parents, and there was a reason why. But I'm going to finish off with this. I was, a speech. We always finish off with a waiata. And, like if we're in our marae and you get up and say something, you got to sing a waiata. And the reason for that is whatever you talked about, it might be something quite heavy. And we need to bring law back. And music is one way of bringing the balance back. Another way is by food. It's another way of bringing law back. Or water. You said water is another way. Someone uses a song. And this one talks about the love, the truth, and everyone being together, the oneness, everybody. Te aroha, te whakapono, me te rangi Māori e tātou e. Te aroha, te whakapono, me te rangi Māori e tātou e. Kia ora tātou, tēnā koutou, kia ora koutou katoa. Thank you so much, Grandmother Rachel. It was, 2016, 2017, the first time she was here, Terry? 2017. I'll never forget 2017. It was this incredible energy and shift that was happening. And we were at the mound. We were doing a ceremony in which you and Wendy and Jonah and the other gentlemen were leading. And it was at that point when we entered the mound, Chief literally went like this. And all the men had to step back so the women could lead. And it was a very, very powerful, powerful moment that I will never forget. Your first presence on this land was absolutely amazing. There was one phenomenal moment after the next. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Everybody give her a big hand. Such an honor to have you travel all this way. We appreciate you. So much gratitude. Thank you. So